All right. Hi, Upper Perk Middle School baseball here tonight in the same discussion format. We're going to be talking about hitting tonight. Quick introductions going around. Our three high school guys: David Kilroy. Give us a wave, Dave. There we go. Evan Shade,
What's up, guys?
Bobby Lynch, and varsity hitting coach, Coach Mike Swanson.
How are we doing tonight, gang?
So, starting off with Coach Swanson, I'm just going to ask him to talk a little bit about, what he looks for, in a solid varsity hitter. What are the basics, Coach?
Oh, well, basically, we're looking for a kid who's going to get into the stance in a nice balanced set, hands relaxed, good mindset walking in to the batter's box, ready to go. I have a lot of little things I like to talk about, but just on a general point, we're looking for a guy who's willing to not only pull the ball down the left field line if he's a right-handed hitter, but someone who especially is able to take the ball to right field. So we're looking for situational hitters, guys who can hit with two strikes on them. There's nothing wrong with being aggressive early in the count and swinging through a fastball or two and being down 0-2, and then sitting there and looking to right center field and hitting a solid single to right field. So there's nothing wrong with that. We're looking for situational hitters. We're looking for guys who know the count, understand the game of baseball, and can expect what pitches are coming. Good students of the game, so to say.
All right, Coach.
And that's a quick little recaps.
Yeah, that's fine. So what we'll do is you'll probably have opportunity to intersperse what your details are when we start talking about the guy's swings going through. So
Yeah.
If you want to tick off your points, and then whatever else you have to add at the end, we'll come back to you full bore at that point, if that's all right with you, Coach.
Sure,
now,
definitely.
All right. So from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a screen so we can see some stuff, and I'm going to go through the guys' swings, and I'm going to have you guys talk about your swings a little bit from there. But before we do that, actually, I'm going to ask the players one question, first of all. So we all know tee work's important. We all know it can get boring. With the varsity level, we have no less than 4, 5, 6, 7 tee drills that we use on a regular basis. I'm going to ask you guys what you think your most your favorite tee drill is, and what you work on in that drill. So we'll start with David for that.
My favorite tee drill has to be Babe Ruth, just because you can kind of get moving. Once you're in motion, it's kind of easy to feel where you can add power or where you're not adding power with your bottom half wise. I feel like that drill definitely works your bottom half.
Right. So the Babe Ruth drill, for guys who don't know, you get deep with it. You take a big longer stride to get to a wide balance point and making sure you're using the backside, right?
Yeah. And I like to do it in a cage too, just to see different views. Hitting into a net's all right, but I like to see where it goes.
Yeah, I know Coach Swanson used that in the fall a lot, right, Coach? We hit off tees out into distance so you can see the result of that swing even in tee work.
Yeah, most definitely. Hitting into a net that's maybe 3-4 feet in front of you is good. Don't get me wrong. It really magnifies the larger problems you have, but you really can break it down when you can hit a further distance, like in a net, like David's talking about, that you can see whether you're pulling off the ball a little bit more. And instead of hitting the net only 2 inches to the left of the square, now you're pulling it into the left side of the net. So it exaggerates and helps show you your flaws in your swing by the ball travel, definitely.
Okay, so moving on to Evan. Evan, your favorite drill off the tee?
I got to say, just moving the tee inside, outside, high or low, just any kind of pitch, because pitchers are throwing it all over the strike zone. So I like to work mostly outside is probably most important for me, just to make sure I'm not lunging out over the plate. I'm not rushing my swing. I'm waiting on the ball a little bit more and taking it to the opposite field. That's what I like to do.
Yeah, I know one of my sort of pet peeves, or one of my points of emphasis with younger hitters, is that when they're hitting off a tee, they tend to want to work on that ball right down the middle a whole lot, which you don't see a whole lot as you move up elevation. So guys that like to move it around and still hitting to all three fields, even though they're off the tee, is important. So moving on to Bobby.
I would have to say my favorite's probably the stop and hold drills. What I really like about this is helps me keep my swing short and compact, and it also gives me a good feel with what I'm doing with my bottom half and hips.
Yeah, I like stop and holds for sure too. Coach, anything to add on the tee before we move into their swings?
Yeah, I mean, all three of those were excellent examples of things that we try to work on, and we can go from there. David, with the Babe Ruth, getting your hips involved and driving the baseball. It's not an upper body swing and rotating at your hips. It's about throwing your hip to the ball and where you want to drive the baseball. So the Babe Ruth is excellent for that. Shady had a great point with moving the tee around. I believe firmly that if you can hit the outside pitch and drive the outside pitch, then you can hit any pitch that's thrown to you. I think that that's the hardest pitch. That's why I concentrate maybe 60 to 70% when we work on tee drills and flip drills the opposite way. Because if you can have your hips and everything else underneath you and not lunge and go the other way, then you're going to have a fantastic stance to be able to pull the ball and drive the ball up the middle. And then Bobby with the stop and hold is exactly right with the just keeping yourself nice and tight. And again, working your hips, and it's not an upper body swing. It's a hand and hips together swing. And that's what that stop and hold teaches.
All right, excellent. Okay, so from here, we're going to break it out into the guys' swings. All right, Bob, you see yourself in the center there?
Yep.
All right. So let me let this roll. You're at 25% here in your three swings. Talk about the keys to your swing.
So for my swing, my big thing is just trying to stay short and compact and try to throw my hands to the ball. I'm really not trying to pull off too much and stay balanced and try to work the right side of the field mainly, right and middle.
Okay, so while we're still rolling here, Coach Swanson, what do you like about Bobby's swing?
Well, like Bobby, the one thing I really always have liked about Bob's swing is he does stay nice, tight, and compact. He keeps his hands inside the ball all the time. He does have good power going to right center field. If you watch him here, the front shot, the first shot you saw, one thing Bobby does very well is he keeps his chin tucked in on his left shoulder. And as you follow and he's swinging here, his head stays, if you watch this one right here, see how his chin is tucked in on his front shoulder? His head stays down on that baseball and his eyes are on that ball all the way through his swing. Good extension right there. And, his head's down on the ball. His head position's excellent right there as far as hitting a baseball. Look, his eyes are right on top of the ball. He's focused where the contact point is, and his extension is pretty nice right there. His hands are inside the ball, and he's not looping around it. Bob's very good at keeping his swing nice and tight.
And for those out there that don't know, Bobby's one of our seniors this year, one of our captains this year, and also as a junior was an all-league selection primarily for his bat. Hit well over 300 in the league, and all those reasons Coach Swanson points out are reasons why he has had a lot of success at the varsity level. All right.
Yeah, now we can see it.
Right?
Yeah, I can see it now.
All right. So Dave Kilroy, one of our senior captains as well, our best extra base hitter, has been in the lineup as a first baseman since he's been a sophomore. Tell me the keys to your swing, Dave.
Definitely just staying compact. I can get long sometimes, but I can feel it and you can obviously tell. But just getting the foot down, keeping the hands in is huge because you got to have fast hands. And if you come out at all, you're not going to catch up to a pitch. And I believe one of these videos you see a high ball. I think it was that last one. But as you can see, it doesn't uppercut on it. My hands get on top of it well and come through it. Because on those high pitches, if your elbow goes up, you can just hit the top of the ball and ground out pretty easily.
Yeah, I'll try to go back to that for you, Dave. This one right here, the high ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty good point. That's a nice job. Yeah.
When you went on on a high pitch like that, you want your bat playing pretty much as flat as possible. Because if you do anything other than that, you're just going to ground out. And that's a pretty good video, but that's a hard pitch to get on top of. Most guys just ground out on those high fastballs or just miss.
All right, Coach Swanson, I'll rewind, Dave. Why don't you talk about
Yeah, definitely go back to his first one here, right here. If you want, just roll it for about 2 seconds and stop it. So a little bit more. I want to see the load. He does a great job with his load. If you notice when you watch Dave swing, that first thing he does when he's got nice balance, and all of a sudden when that pitch is coming in, the hands kind of come back, the weight shifts back, and right there he is ready and locked and loaded. That toe's just about to go down. He's ready to fire his hip through. He's in a real nice position with his hands right there. It's one of the Dave's strong points and why he gets a lot of power. Not just because he's a big guy, okay, but he gets a lot of power. I mean, a lot of his outs are deep, deep fly balls because he gets that good load and then fires the hip through.
Yeah, the thing I like about Dave's load too is if you notice, even though he's a big guy, he gets that full load. If you look at that front arm, though, he's still only at 90 degrees, right, Coach? He's not barred out. You know?
Definitely not barred out. And if Dave does have one fault is if you notice right now, Dave's got a real nice bend to his knees. He's ready to drive the baseball. When Dave starts getting a lot of flyouts, what ends up happening is he starts to stand up a little bit, and that head will go up, and his hands will go up. He'll get underneath the baseball and hit fly balls. Now, that one right there, he stayed down with his head down beautifully through the contact point, and his head didn't come up until after contact. A lot of guys, when you load like this and get all your weight back and everything else, if you start to stand up instead of drive through, you'll get underneath the baseball and you'll end up causing yourself a lot of fly balls. Dave did a real nice job there staying level and with his load and then coming through the baseball and driving it. And look at the finish with a nice L on the back leg. You can see there Dave's throwing his hip into the ball very well right there.
Can we go back to the first video?
Sure.
So I noticed Bobby does it well too, but like right when the pitch is coming, just like turning that front shoulder in and really getting your head down, that allows you to have more power and you're not throwing it off and you can close more too. So that's a positive. I saw Bob was doing that too.
Yeah, no, both of you guys do it. That chin I mentioned with Bobby and Dave, you do the same thing. That chin is right on the shoulder. That forces you to keep that front shoulder in. Too many guys want to pull that front shoulder away from their chin towards the third base coach, which then opens up their hips, and you end up hitting all upper body instead of using your lower body. By staying tight, chin to the shoulder like you and Bob both showed there, you're now ready to drive the baseball to any field. If that's an outside pitch, you're still able to throw your hands and drive it to right field. Whereas if your shoulder was away and towards third base more, you'd have to drag your hands all the way around and just hit a weak ground ball. So you're in great position right there to be able to hit any baseball in any position on the plate.
All right, so Evan Shade's one of our juniors this year. He started at second base in the middle of infield as a sophomore already last year. If there's one thing, that you need to know about Evan is he's probably one of the more consistent players offensively, defensively that we've had. As a sophomore last year, found himself in a real key role on the offensive side for us. And he hits from the left side, which, of course, is a benefit. So, Evan, why don't you take us through keys to your swing?
Yeah, sure. So this is off the tee, so obviously not going to be showing as much power. But one thing, I just try and work through the ball. I'm trying to move my body forward, and obviously the hips are opening up towards the ball. And, I just want to keep my arms and my hips moving forward. I'm not just throwing my arms towards it. That's something I've worked on a lot in the past. That's something I used to struggle with a lot, was just swinging with my upper body. But using the lower body definitely gives me more power, makes a ground ball to the second baseman can get through or something, even if it's not that best of contact, it'll still get through, trying to generate more power.
I'm watching here, and Evan does a real nice job as he's got his load going, and just like David and Bobby, if you watch that front shoulder and that chin, it's front shoulder, back shoulder, chin to it both ways. He's got a great back leg there with a nice L on it. And the one thing I like about taking the shot from this angle is if you watch his head and you maybe put it like with the tree behind it and take a look at it, his head is not moving forward to the ball at all. He is keeping his weight back, okay? He is not gaining ground with his upper body going towards the tree or that house in the background there. He is staying back, and he's actually got like a rod driven right through the center of his body, and he is throwing his hip through that and now he's driving the baseball, and he is not moving forward at all, which is excellent, which means he's bracing off that front leg and giving himself extra power by doing so. By drifting forward, he would lose a lot of power, but by bracing off that front leg the way he's doing, he's getting extra power. Now, he's not the largest guy in the world. Evan's, slighter in frame, but Evan does a real nice job, especially going the other way and hitting the ball to left center and left field line and getting a lot of extra base hits that way because he does stay tight and he does not float and drift. That allows him to hit the outside pitch very well.
Can you go right to his load, like pause it right on his, like when he's done loading? Right there. Like that, where he has his hand set and the bat angle is perfect because you want it like right back at the catcher. You don't want it wrapped and you don't want it too far towards the pitcher because then you're flat and just going to pop everything up. So it's a good spot right there, right at his hands.
Yeah, there's no doubt. There's one thing I think about Evan because Coach Swanson and I have had a chance to see you guys all play up through youth ball and stuff and then work with you a little bit even then. Evan's been probably one of the more consistent guys around, He's evolved some, but his basics, his balance, his hand position, his head position has always been really, really good.
Yeah,
We're going to move on from there.
Oh, Bobby had something.
one thing I wanted to say about Evan is that he stays balanced really well, and that really helps him hitting the ball to all fields, and that's one of the things I think he does best.
Yeah, I'm always trying to stay balanced. I don't want to be lunging out over the plate or anything. I'm just trying to, keep the same lower body, and the only thing that's moving is really where my arms are for my timing. If I'm hitting an opposite field or pulling it, going up the middle, you don't want to be lunging with your step in a different direction all the time.
All right. So now we'll move forward. And from here, I'm going to go back. Dave, so earlier today, Dave was texting me some files. He sends me this Harper picture because his parents were at the game in the background, and he wanted to talk about some things, so I'm going to put them up next. And then I'm like, wait a minute. I sent my middle school guys last year. I thought it was the same game, same shot, but it was different. But it was on a 457-foot home run. But the thing about Harper's swing is that it's so stinking violent. You think, no way does he get to these basic positions that we're always preaching about. And then when you slow him down and freeze frame him, he's like dead on at all times, even at that speed. So, and David's parents are back there. Not the cheap seats either, Dave. That's a nice job by your parents.
Yeah, that is nice seats.
Okay, so Dave, why don't you walk through the keys why you wanted me to show this tonight?
So the first one I want to talk about was that back leg. I know a lot of people are taught to squish the bug, but that's not really what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to drive with the knee forward, and that causes your foot to come up like that. Like he's not just spinning off that back foot. He's throwing his knee into it and getting power with it. And then the second main part we see in the front is like his leg is locked out, and that allows him to get so much more power on that because he's torqued right now, and he's throwing his hips, as you can see, and especially with his arms, like right after contact, he's fully extended right now. He's not like at a 90-degree angle, so that's pretty good because some guys they extend, but like they're extended the whole time, so they just get jammed. And some guys don't ever extend; they just end up like pulling off to the side. So he does a great job of that. And then his head is down as well.
All right. Anybody else want to add anything to these two Harper shots before we move on with the questions for the guys?
I think Dave nailed it with the L on his leg. His back leg is making that L shape that Coach likes to mention a lot. So, yeah.
All righty. So we'll stop the share. We'll go back to the view of everybody. And then from here, okay, so questions for the guys. Focus during BP. So before a game, let's talk about game day here. Let's talk about game day BP. It's a little bit different than maybe BP when coach is telling you to work on something during the week. But it's a game day, and you're in the cage taking your game day BP. What are you thinking about? What's your focus, Bobby?
So when I'm kind of getting ready for a game mentally and stuff, taking BP, the one big thing that I always try to do is always work right field and just up the middle. And when I'm hitting, there's mainly 3 spots that I'm looking for to try to hit the ball in the cage. which is the two top corners in the cage where the back meets the top of the cage, and then just dead center on the L screen. And so that's really what I'm trying to focus on.
Okay, Evan, you're next.
Yeah, I like to spread the ball all over the place. You know, if I hit 3 balls that are pulled, I'm gonna ease off of pulling the ball, and I'm gonna wait on the ball a little bit more. You know, I don't want to be hitting the ball to one spot every time. You know, change it up all the time because pitches are gonna be thrown all over the place. So I want to be ready for that.
David.
Pregame, I'm most like trying to work on my timing really because that's a huge part. So like in the cage, I'll probably let like a ball get really deep and just like hit it foul to the right side, and then just work my way out from there because I feel like that works best for me. Like if I start pulling the ball instantly, like it's hard to just let the ball travel. It's easier to like have it be deeper and then work your way up to speed. And then I like to just hit it right back up the middle because, I mean, that's perfect timing. So anything from there in the game is just going to be a hit to left or right.
Okay, so and before we move to the next one, that's a good segue. So we've been talking a lot of mechanical stuff thus far, but I know Coach Swanson's been working a ton on approach in the past year or so with all you guys, with everybody in the program. And Steve Springer, the guy who was once the mental hitting coach for the Blue Jays, and now he does a lot of his own work in hitting instruction. He talks about the fact that he goes, look, we can work on your mechanics 24/7, but if your approach is lousy, you're really not going to be a good hitter. So let's start the approach conversation with talking about being on deck. You're the on deck guy. How are you approaching? How are you getting ready for your bat? We'll start with Evan this time.
Yeah, I'm just watching the guy before, or if I'm the leadoff guy, I'm just watching warm-up pitches. You know, I just want to study the pitcher and know exactly what he's doing. Like if he has some sort of plan, if he's been going fastball, and then once he gets to 2 strikes, what's he going to throw? Like if he has some sort of routine, I want to pick up on that right away so that I'm not going up there totally blind. I have an idea as to what the at-bat's going to look like. If he's throwing first pitch strikes, I'm ready to hit a strike that's right down the middle.
All right, Bobby, we'll move to you next.
My big thing is just timing. I always like to try to work on timing for a pitcher, and also looking at arm slot, seeing if he throws pitches, if he throws his curveball from a different arm slot than his fastball. And then I'm just an anxious person. That's how I am. So I like to just grip the bat as hard as I can and take one hard swing before I go up.
Okay, David.
I agree with Bob. I'm like almost the same way where I'm trying to see if he tips something off or if he has different posture so I can tell what pitch is coming. And also I'm like even before I'm on deck, I'm looking at what sequences are gonna happen. Or I look back at previous at bats and see what he threw me or see what he threw other guys. And then just to get my timing. Like I don't take a hard swing. I just nice and light, get my hands to the zone when the pitch comes in, see what he's throwing, see if I can look at laces. That's about it.
Coach Swanson, let's expand it for you now too, not just on deck, but what are you looking out for your hitters out of their approaches, including their on deck experience?
Well, I mean, first I'd like to go back to the batting practice part, if you don't mind. And
Sure.
the batting practice, as far as the high school is concerned, is a little bit different than most of our other batting practices in a sense that it's one of the few times I allow them to take 8 to 10 swings in a cage all at once. We're a big believer in when you're at bat, you have 2 to 3 swings to get your job done. So when we take batting practice, we rotate in and out 2 or 3 pitches at a time. You know, make it as real, as game-like as possible. So when they do take pregame batting practice and get that 8 or 9 swings, all 3 of them said exactly the same thing. I'm looking for guys that are going to be able to move the ball left side, right side, and up the middle and get their swings so that depending upon whoever they see, you know, speed, fast, slow, tries to jam them, throw them outside. These guys have already got a couple swings in on each of those type of pitches that they can be effective in the game. As far as on deck and everything else, they just should be looking at what the pitcher's been throwing. The guys do a good job of talking to each other during the game. Hey, this guy led me off for the fastball. Understand the situation. What Evan mentioned it about being a leadoff hitter, and you might want to take a few more pitches to possibly get work a walk or something along those lines. But just keeping your mind in the ball game, focusing on what the pitcher's doing, and just trying to pick up little nuances are huge.
Yeah, no doubt. I know at the middle school level, I've been doing a couple of things that are a little smaller than that, but I started throwing BP at multiple speeds a lot the last year or two, just because guys get in this sort of like groove and they got your time, and they wind up being like, cage heroes, but really seem to struggle in games. And if you don't mix it up a little bit, and I've been running guys in groups more like you've been doing, 3 guys, 4 guys, 5 swings 3 different times as opposed to 15 swings all at once, right? And it's
Correct.
sort of like amps up the mental piece of what they have to do to reset themselves. And in
Sure.
an at-bat, I know I've been big on an at-bat, and these 3 guys do it really well. Like if you got to make an adjustment, you've got pretty much one swing to make your adjustment, not 7, right? In an at-bat.
That's right. Exactly right. Yep. And with that being said, I mean, let's go into some of the things that in an at-bat. I personally believe that Upper Perk baseball, and this is tradition for past 5 or 6 years, and we're trying to change it, is we're too passive in the plate. I think that too many kids are upset about missing pitches. They're not aggressive. But I just find that, guys are not aggressive enough, that they aren't looking for the fastball enough, and that we're taking too many good pitches. So one of the mindsets, and it's this thing that it's something that you've talked about, I think, when you were little, the whole idea of getting in a batter's box and saying, yes, 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 every single pitch is going to be a strike. Mentally, you're thinking strike, 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 yes, yes, and then stopping when it is a ball. So in other words, no matter what the pitch is, as that pitcher's winding up and getting into his windup or into his stretch, you're thinking it's a strike. You're preparing yourself. You're doing your load, and you're doing else. How many times do we see check swings? We don't see a whole lot of check swings. That tells me that we're not aggressive enough in the batter's box. So that's one of the things that I'm trying to push with these guys, is try to get more aggressive. Yes, yes, yes. And if you miss a pitch, so what? You still have 2 more strikes.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And that's also knowing situation, right? It's also knowing what the count is. You're not just swinging to swing. And that starts with, that's a big part of the whole approach thing. And you need confidence for that. You gotta hit confidently for sure. All right, guys, next question for you guys. So we're talking about probably mechanics at this point again. We're going to go back to that. Then we're going to come back to approach at the end, the last question. Your 2 key factors to your best successful swing. When you know you're running right, what are the 2 things or so, more or less, that are going well when you're going well? Let's start with Dave.
I feel like my 2 key ideas for that are my hands, because when people say get your hands inside, like that can go any way. I can feel my hands when they get inside, and like when I get a nice ball is when my hands are out in front of my stomach or like my belly button, because that's really like where your hands are supposed to be, especially on an inside pitch. It's not just getting your hands in, it's getting them extended, because if you can't get them extended, then it's just not going to work. And second, I would say, is probably just like my lower half. It definitely where my power comes from. With like a good lower half, you can wait too, especially on fastballs, not just curveballs. You can wait on a fastball. I know it's weird to say, but you can do that, especially with faster hands. You can wait and just take it down the right field line.
All right, Bobby, your swing, the keys.
I would say the biggest key for me is probably just timing. I feel like when I have my timing down, that's when things are really going well. And then also keeping my hands inside. Once I have those 2 things down, and I'm patient too. That's another thing, is being patient and not going and lunging for the ball. So balance.
Gotcha. Eb?
Yeah, I know you said there's a lot mechanical in this part, but something is my mindset. When I'm going well, I'm not really thinking about how I'm hitting. Like, I don't want to do too much. I just want to get up there and get a base hit. Like, I want to perfect my swing in practice when I'm on the tee, and then once I get up to bat in a game, it's just automatic for me. So I'm not really thinking about what I'm doing. And if I do miss a pitch and I miss it badly, I'll think, all right, now I have to make an adjustment in game. But I want to do everything that I can avoid making mid-game adjustments.
So, Coach, before I go on to the next one, we talk about getting inside the baseball a lot, and we haven't really talked about explaining about what that really means. I know when I talk about it, one thing I do when I want guys to get inside the ball, I'd like for all of our hitters, especially the middle school level, when they work on a tee, to set a ball this way vertically, if you can see where the laces are, and then to hit those inside laces towards them. Get the barrel on that, on the inside laces, right? So they're hitting those backspin line drives to the corners, to the gaps, right? So what do you, if you had to explain a little further on staying inside the baseball, what does it mean to you?
Well, again, for me, it's the idea and it's a visual concept of being able to drive the ball to the opposite field. So if you were to take your hands and bring it to where the ball is on a tee, let's say, for example, and your hands are out and equal to where the ball is on the tee, you've extended your hands too far, and there's only one place you can go with that baseball, and that's pulling it down your power side, your left field. If you're right-handed, it would be left field. If you're right-handed, it would be right field, and pulling off on the ball. To keeping your hands between your body and the baseball is where you want to be, so that you're able to, drive your back shoulder and your hip through the ball. David, going back to David and his key to his swing, and he has a great point. When David is off, David's problem is not getting outside with his hands. It's actually getting his hands into tight to his body. So there is a fine line, because you also need that room to be able to rotate your upper shoulders through and not get your elbows caught up on your midsection. So, but ideally is if you could take a baseball and drive it to right center field, and your hands are in perfect position. And that's one of the reasons why I like to do almost every one of my drills going to right center field, to keep that hands. And you think about it, if I'm going to push that ball or drive that ball to right center field, I need to have my hands in a position so that it's able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. The more, like, and a lot of people think that, they hear us preach the other way. It's not that we don't want the guys to hit the ball to their power side. We just know that's going to come more naturally on game day. I was watching a thing with Harold Reynolds and Pujols.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Pujols the other day talked about his swing thought almost all the time was right center. He always worked right center, he said. And how many bombs did he hit the left field doing that, right? But that was his thought. That was his mindset going in. All right, so the last scripted question I have for you guys is tips on becoming a good hitter, on becoming one, right? Getting yourself there. The one thing I know about you guys is that, and baseball's a failure game. We know statistically it's a failure game. We know that if you worry too much about your batting average, you're going to be disappointed a lot. You just got to try to get good swings. And you three have done a phenomenal job over the years of failing your way towards success. There's no doubt in my mind at all. So if you were talking about your two best tips for becoming a good hitter over time, over a longer time, what might they be? We'll start with Bobby.
I would say biggest thing for me is probably having a positive outlook and having confidence. I mean, like you said, baseball is a game of failure, and you can't be so hard on yourself when you do make mistakes. And then the other thing I would say is probably asking questions about drills and your swing in general, just trying to understand more and get someone else's perspective.
All right, David.
I feel like the way to become a good hitter is definitely be aggressive, because in high school, a lot of pitchers will start you off with a first pitch fastball, and that might be the only one you get. So if they're not pitchers in high school, they'll just throw it right over the plate to get a strike. So you just got to be aggressive and disciplined as well, because you don't want to swing at a first pitch curveball in the dirt or something like that. And I feel like my second one would have to be definitely learning from your mistakes, because when you're in a slump and you get out of it, you're just excited to be out of it, and you don't really know why you got out of it. So it would be important to know why for the future reference. And like, because when you're upset and you're not doing well, just you're thinking too much. It's just how it works. So you gotta learn from your mistakes to fix your problems.
All right, moving on to Ev.
Yeah, I came up with 2 points here. First would be that learn how to hit every pitch, and maybe not every pitch, obviously. Like, I've never seen a screwball in my life, I don't think, but fastball, changeup, curveball, you want to know how to hit all those pitches. Like, you want to make sure you're not late on a fastball, and you can recognize a fastball when it's coming in, and you don't want to be super out in front of a curveball. You want to be able to pick up a spin if the pitcher's throwing it from a different arm slot or something. Know how to hit that. Know how to wait on it so you can still drive it effectively. And if you can't drive it, waste it. Foul it off, make the pitcher work more. And then another thing was just make every swing count, like in the game and especially in practice, because you're going to get a lot of swings at the tee and eventually you're going to get tired, but you should just keep swinging, like, to improve. Every swing is a chance for you to get better. And if coach tells you to adjust this, do that and keep doing it consistently. And just don't just take a swing for the sake of taking a swing because this is the drill that you're on. You just want to get done it. Like, if you're set on a drill for 5 minutes, spend all those seconds that you have working on your swing and making it better.
All right, Coach. I know you probably have a couple other things on your list there yet. Why don't I turn it over to you, and then you can discuss whatever you want to here with the guys for a few minutes.
Yeah, well, I just want to go to that mental thing. I mean, everybody has their own swing, and we can always work on a mechanical piece here and there. But to be honest with you, the key to hitting and the key, and let's face it, it's the key to life is your mental outlook on everything. As far as I'm concerned, when you go to hit, you mentioned worrying about your batting average. You can't have that in your mind. You can't have whether the last pitch was a ball or strike or the umpire made a bad call on you in that bat prior, or you can't be thinking about your girlfriend down in the third base bleachers. You need to be focused on one thing and one thing only. So you need to clear your mind. So how are we going to do it? My biggest piece, and I would have been trying to work with these guys in the off season, and unfortunately it got cut short, is stepping out, collecting yourself, and just taking one big deep breath. Big inhale, big exhale, and you just feel looser. You cleared your head, get in the batter's box, and then just focus on the pitcher in front of you. You have to take all that other stuff out of your mind, and any type of negativity is just going to be defeative for you as far as your swing goes. So you just need to have a good, positive outlook. And then going back to what we were talking about the other day, you were just mentioning about going the other way. I don't teach hitting the ball the other way in practice and stress it in practice, because I truly believe we should all become opposite fields slap hitters, a Rod Carew or Ichiro or Tony Gwynn or something like that. It's not what I believe in, but I do know that when the game time comes and you've got a little juice in you and your adrenaline's flowing and mom and dad are there, or your girlfriend's there, or your grandparents are there, you're pumped up, or the kid that the kid is pitching against you, and you've got a little bit extra in you. You've been thinking about right center all week, practicing. Now that pitch comes in, you're going to be able to turn on that quickly and get it to left center. But you're going to have the proper swing, the proper balance, because you've worked on keeping your hips underneath of you, your shoulders in the right plane, your hands in the right position, and going the other way. And next thing you know, instead of hitting a ball to right center field, now you're drilling the ball to left center or pulling the ball down the line. So, those are my two big things. Is just the whole mental aspect. There's a lot of guys, if you think about it, there's a lot of guys who play baseball from in every level. And as it goes on, what weeds out good little leaguers from good middle school players? What weeds out good middle school players from good high school players? And keep going, high school to college to pro, minors to professional. There are players in minor league baseball that are probably more talented than some of the guys you see day in and day out watching TV and Major League Baseball, but they don't make it because they just don't have what's between the ears. And the mental aspect is huge. So when you get in that batter's box, you need to be concentrating on one thing and one thing only, that pitch coming to you, and I want to go hit it and be aggressive.
Excellent. Good discussion. So, before we wrap up talking about you guys a little bit, is there anything else from the three of you as players that you'd like to add?
I'd like to add. So my junior year, I definitely hit a slump at one part, and going from high school baseball to senior legion, I kind of just hit the reset button, just clear my mind, and it worked for me because I definitely hit well in the summer, and I was like all area for legion. So being able to just let things go and hitting the reset button is pretty nice.
And that all goes back to that mental thing I talked about, right, Dave? You kind of got got caught up in the numbers a little bit in the year and got in a slump, right? And then next thing you know, like you said, you let it go, reset button, and boom, you're off and running in the summer, right?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to say with the mental thing, when you're up to bat, after every single pitch, I had one little part of the bat that I focused on. And I just stare at that real quick for half a second, take a deep breath, and that was how I just centered myself. I remember last year on my bat, it was a little letter N, and I stared at that little N so many times, but that was how I focused myself in. Then I'd step in the box, do my routine, and I was ready.
Yeah, just adding something separate from that completely is with this time off, just take advantage of it. Really commit to getting better over this time. Keep on practicing because at the high school level, there's a lot of competition. So if you want to be the best, you just got to know that there's always someone else out there that's willing to outwork you. So just keep on putting in that work.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big point. I wanted to wrap up here just for a minute or so. I'll say a couple of things. I'm sure Coach Swanson will have a couple to add. Just talking about the three individuals. First of all, thank you for coming on with us and doing this for the middle school program. We appreciate it. We don't need to get into too much detail about the disappointment everybody has right now. I know doing these things with you guys is helpful for me because we're not in the field. We're not in the yard, right? I know what my son's been going through. I know what you guys have been going through. We got two seniors sitting here with us that are giving back. Bobby talks about that competition. You were going to go back behind the plate for us this year and do something different because you knew we needed it, and we appreciate that. Dave, you're going to have the opportunity to go on and play at the next level. We're excited to see that. It's a shame that you're not going to get a chance to prepare for that the way you want to, but I know you'll be ready for the challenge. So we look forward to seeing what things, what good things happen there. Evan, you got another year in blue and gold. I know you're probably chomping at the bit to get that started as fast as you can, because I know you have desires to want to be at the next level. Bobby, you're headed for Virginia Tech. Is that correct, to study?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so looking forward to that. Fingers crossed. Hopefully everybody's fall semester starts the way we want it to here, and we get that going well. So, Coach Swanson, any final thoughts about the three fine individuals we have with us tonight?
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. It's kind of a cross section of our program right here. We got David, who baseball's been his main sport, and he's lucky enough right now that despite the fact of missing out on his senior year and now doesn't look like getting to play much in the summer ball, he's got the opportunity to move on and play at the next level, which is awesome. David, good luck with that. I think you're going to do great. I think you learned a lot in the 3 or 4 years you've been with us. And I think that hopefully, some of the things that you've learned along the way will help you make a better player. Just when you talked about that whole reset button, I think that was something you wouldn't have recognized even going into your junior year or going into your beginning of the senior year last year. So you're definitely maturing and growing as a player. So good luck with that. And I think you're going to do great. You got Shady, who is coming back next year. You got a guy here who's missed out on the junior year. It's a big year, possibly get his name out there to possibly play somewhere in college ball if that's something he wants to do. But Evan's a hard worker. I'm not worried about him. He'll come back fired up. The one guy, I said there's a couple guys on our team like it, and it's Bobby Lynch is one of them. Bobby's done everything we've ever asked him to do in this program. He's a baseball first. He always has been. And to be honest with you, it's guys like him, Eric Kresley, trying to think of a couple, Baxter, who baseball was their lives. They loved the game of baseball, and this was their opportunity, their last year to play it. And all three of them are excellent students. They're going off to school, and they want the college experience and the education, which is fantastic. I commend them for it. I hope they do the best, and I know they'll do the best because they're all great kids. But I feel the worst for those guys because this was their last opportunity to play with their friends on the field one more time, and they got that taken away from them, and I feel bad for them very much so. Everybody else gets an opportunity to play again, but these guys kind of like this was their last hurrah. So I feel terrible for them. But Bobby, good luck with everything you do. You're a great kid. You've always been a good student and a great teammate and a great kid. And all three of you guys have been great to coach. So that's all
Thanks,
I
Coach.
have to say. I hope I didn't get too mushy.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks,
I mean,
Coach.
I think we'd be denying a piece of this if we didn't just spend a moment talking about it a little bit, because at the end of the day, if you're going to help your team win ball games at the plate or anywhere else, you got to have some sort of bond, some sort of caring for one another. And I think these three guys have always done that well. And it's one thing I've appreciated. I know I've said it before. I've been back involved with the high school level of things now for 3-4 years, not quite as long as you have, Coach Swanson. But this group this year, really, honestly, it just really felt good every day being around them. So that's one thing I know that Evan's going to be looking to try to continue, carry on what these guys are leaving behind.
Yeah, definitely. The whole locker room vibe, I hope that can continue with every grade level that we have. I think this year's seniors and juniors, I think there was a great bond there, and I hope I can pass that on for the program.
Yeah, I know the program's going to be looking for you and Malachi. We had on last week with the pitching group. I know that you two guys are going to be looking to carry on what these guys are leaving behind. So not to take up any more of your time, guys. I really appreciate you taking the time with us. Be safe, and good luck in the future to everybody. Thanks, Coach Swanson.
Yep. Guys, take care.
Thank
Thanks,
you too,
Coach.
Coach.